Namaste, my friends, freaks, and football fanatics. Welcome back to your favorite show with your favorite bro. Back one more time for this week, second time for this week. Like I mentioned last week, you guys are going to get a lot of me this week, unfortunately, as there are 4 days of NFL action. Now let's break down the second one. I mean, not just NFL, just football action at hand. We go Thursday, the phenomenal, possibly the game of the season between the Rams and the Seahawks, which we were right. So we started out 1-0. Then a phenomenal game yesterday between the Alabama Crimson Tide and Oklahoma Sooners, where the Bama Roll Tide, came back from 17-0 deficit, came back, won it by 2 scores. Now they're headed to go play Indy in the Rose Bowl. Should be interesting to see how CFB playoffs plays out, but we are not there just yet for the NFL action, so let's get into it. NFL Fox Saturday Showdown today, but first we're starting out in, do I call it Washington? Let's see, I'm still confused about this. So are they in Landover, Maryland right now? Were they in Landover, Maryland prior? Are they in Virginia right now? And the approved site for the old RFK Stadium is that in Washington, D.C. So I know I have, Commanders enthusiast. I hope, my guy, you could kind of explain that geography situation to me. But shout out to the DMV regardless. In this one, unfortunately, I will be picking against y'all. So I hope you guys, stay patient with me. Week 18. It's still to come, so stay patient with me. 29-21 win that you guys are coming out of against the Giants in the division. So, energy is good. Vibes are high this week. On the other side, Eagles, even higher vibes. They had everybody screaming down their neck. Kevin Patullo got egged. Sirianni, almost looked like he was going to get possibly ran out of town after a 3-game losing streak. Then came my Raiders to town, gave them the best Christmas gift ever, or gift wrap with 31-0 loss, scored even less than 100 yards. Second team since 1947, Baltimore close to do so with both the Super Bowl contenders or participants in the Eagles and the Chiefs. So that's us, but we are not talking about us today, thank God. We are talking about the Eagles taking on these Commanders, and in this one we are rocking with the Eagles. Like I mentioned, why do I mention that? Jaden Daniels being hurt kind of makes it easy for us to pick on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. On the other side, Marcus Mariota, is he gonna have a revenge game? Possibly, but there's injuries along that offensive line. The injuries to Terry McLaurin throughout the season, you could go back to the offseason. The contract dispute can kind of, be highlighted as the primary reason to his nagging injuries throughout this season. And the back end secondary-wise, Jeremy Chin came out to the Vegas. You got 2 young cornerbacks in Trey Amos and Mike Saintshaw, but not having Lattimore anymore. The veteran leadership in the back end, that has kind of, hurt the secondary as well. You still do have phenomenal pieces in De'Aaron Payne, Bobby Wagner, in that front 7, even a Frankie Louvu, but David Ojomo, same problems with the Eagles, 5 sacks. Von Miller, 7 sacks. So the sacks are, one of the reasons why both teams are struggling. Trenches are one of the reasons why both teams are struggling. It's been difficult for both teams to keep their offensive and defensive line healthy. I think this year in general, both teams are lacking the pass rush that they had even till last year. And yeah, I think this game's going to be, I don't think there's much weather problems, let's just say, or factor in this game. So, and even if there was, you would try test. You would, I can't talk right now. I am just blinking out. You would trust Jake Elliott a lot more, being a Super Bowl champion that he is. And yeah, I think this game kind of comes down to the trenches. Eagles still struggling with theirs as well. No Lane Johnson. Without him, their record speaks for themselves. Jurgens has not filled Jason Kelsey's role the way you would have wanted him to. If a center is to be had, does he move back to right guard and Tyler Steen gets, kept as a rotational guard? There's things to be, kind of tweaked for the Eagles as well. Do I see them as a Super Bowl champion this year? No. But as long as they make the dance, they have the experience, you never know what happens. Also, Eagles do very, very, very well need this more than the Commanders, because next week they take on the Bills. After that, they take on the Commanders again. If they slip this one, they have no chance of error the final 2 weeks. If they win this one, they could kind of maybe slip that final week, kind of, by then Dallas maybe drops another one, then they could actually have that breath of, relief, because Dallas are still lurking at 1%. Now, let's move on to the other game. It is the 9-4-1 Green Bay Packers taking on the 10-4 Chicago Bears. Why do I say in this one? Because this is a hard game to call. This is not the same old Bears. This is not the Bears that the landlord, or this is not the same Bears that at Soldier Field had the landlord named Aaron Rodgers. This is Jordan Love's Packers. This is Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson's Bears. 10-4, coming out of a 31-3 shellacking of the Cleveland Browns at home in that one as well, I do believe. And now this one against the Packers on the road, a divisional matchup. It's going to be a tough one. It probably gets down to the quarterback, who probably does not throw a pick or turn the ball over in terms of fumble either. It's interesting in this one because I don't know. I still have questions regarding Jordan Love. I have mentioned this before. Caleb Williams, obviously I have questions regarding him because he is playing phenomenally. He is, I do believe, less than 290 yards away from becoming the Bears all-time passing leader and breaking the 4,000 barrier for the first time in their 100-plus year history, which we are rooting for. I hope he actually has over 300 yards in today's game, and we have a phenomenal night heading into, tomorrow's Sunday slate. But in this one, I will rock with the Packers on the road. It's tough, but yeah, even without Micah Parsons' unfortunate injury last week, prayers out to him. They're coming off the loss against the Denver Broncos. It was a one-score game, I do believe 34-26, but yeah, in this one, I think it's going to be tough for the Packers to drop this. I think if they do drop this, the Lions are going to look to overtake them. Also, NFC West is filling up all of the playoff seeds, so you really don't want to give up any games. More than likely you are still going to make it, but like I mentioned, the Lions are chomping at the bits. They're going to want to get into the playoffs, and they're right there on your heels as well. So this game is probably going to be more important for the Packers, especially with having that desperation of not having a Micah Parsons. It just kind of goes to show, or it will entail what Packer is going to step up, because offensively, if you look at their weapons, they have a ton of weapons similar to that of Chicago Bears, though not invested in similar manner. But at the same time, you could argue that the level of talent that the Packers have accumulated, at least in terms of pass catchers, is not even close to that of the Bears, though it's similar. Tucker Kraft being out, that kind of hurts them out, especially in a game like this. At Chicago, the weather is probably going to play a factor. If not, at least the winds are going to be chillier. I do believe it's listed at 35 degrees, but it's going to feel more like 25 with about a 10-mile-per-hour wind. So if it gets down to special teams as well, I'm trusting that Brandon McManus, who has played in inclement weather and climates up in Denver. So I'm going to rely on his kicking abilities, hopefully for a game-winning field goal if that is necessary, over Cairo Santos. But good, better, best. You never know the rest. So it is going to be interesting to see the game plan that Ben Johnson comes up with, because if you go back and look at the history between Ben Johnson and the Green Bay Packers, especially with his stint in Detroit, it was the run games that kind of did give Green Bay trouble. If you go back and look, similar to that of Dallas, they have had, at least in the Aaron Rodgers run since probably that 2010 Super Bowl, their defense somehow, some way, always kind of broke down at the wrong moments. Could that happen for the Packers still? It's going to be very tough. Their secondary still does leave me with questions. Nate Hobbs, shout out to the boy, former Raider. Keyshawn Nixon, former Raider. Valentine, sure, but they're all like supporting cast dudes. Respectfully, they're none of those guys. You needed a Charles Woodson to win the Super Bowl, right? To put you over the top, you need somebody of that ilk. On the other side, Jalen Johnson coming back, that actually should be, for me, putting them over the top, and I think they will. But it's still their first year. I'm still gonna expect the standard of the division to hopefully hold up the standard, at least in their first year. Next year, I could see, Bears kind of taking over that spot. Packers gonna have to start, kicking their feet and everything, because they just paid Jordan Love, they just paid Micah Parsons, and if they don't get a Super Bowl within the 3 years, who won the trade? Did Jerry win? Because if they go farther in the playoffs by next year, which like the way the trades kind of worked out by the end, and like I mentioned, it's still a 1% chance for them to make the playoffs. If they somehow, some way make the playoffs, the economic boom that it provides them heading into next season, we already know what Cowboys do. So there's a lot more to unpack there. But next week, or in week 18, Green Bay takes on Minnesota. In week 18, Detroit takes on Chicago. So it could be intriguing where Chicago wants to get this win in the bag, and they're kind of not worried about Detroit, even though it's at home, in week 18, or they get a little too ahead of themselves, start thinking about the playoffs a little too prematurely without handling business. The Josh Jacobs led running game, quick play action game, hopefully some deep shots with Christian Watson, if he is playing, because he tends to be hurt more than he plays. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Packers navigate the market, because while they did invest in Matthew Golden in the first round, I don't even know if he is in the same ilk or in that same level of Rome Odunze. Luther Burden being out for Chicago kind of takes the speed aspect of their game out of the game plan, but you still have a Rome Odunze, I do believe. You still have a DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Colson Loveland. You have plethora of weapons that you could rely on. Probably a better O-line even in their first year, who are still gelling and getting better. So I feel like I'm making more arguments for the Chicago Bears, but in this one, maybe, like I mentioned, with that Miami Dolphins and Steelers game back to the Monday Night Football last week, maybe my gut feeling has diarrhea, but I hope you guys still stay tuned with this one. Enjoy the football at hand, and then I will catch you guys tomorrow back again with that Sunday slate. Till then, you already know. Bye.